turn on my mic and we'll start over. Good morning, members of the MAG Intelligent Transportation System Committee. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items under today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a white request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway and give it to MAG staff. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table by the door. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I call your name, please indicate you are present for the record. Ruben Lopez. Susan Anderson.
I'm here. Thank you.
Paul Robbins.
Here.
Micah Henry.
Good morning, I'm here.
Alyssa Dahl. Albert Garcia. Catherine Hollow.
Yes, good morning.
Sergeant Hunt.
Present, thank you.
Hong Ho.
Here.
Kieran Jordan. Bruce Littleton.
Present.
Bruce. David Lucas. Steve McKenzie.
Here.
Eduardo Raudales.
Here.
Raquel Schatz.
Here.
Ward Stanford. Mike Sutton.
Here.
Christopher Wanamaker. John Willett.
Present.
Dr. Shih-Song Zhu.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Marty Zeik.
Present.
Is there anyone I have missed?
Tessa Wessel with the City of El Mirage.
And Albert Garcia, City of Surprise.
We have quorum. Thank you, Chair.
Our next item is called to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item unless the committee requests an exception to this limit. I have received zero requests to speak for this agenda item. MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website 1 hour prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item?
Thank you, Chair. No public comments have been received for this item or any other item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is approval of the November 2nd, 2022 meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have revisions? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
A motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Sergeant Clement.
I'll second. This is Kathy Hollow.
Okay, and we have a second from Kathy. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
nay.
Aye.
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 Thank you, Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote online. Ruben Lopez, Sten Weber, Susan Anderson,
I approve.
Paul Robbins,
Aye.
Micah Henry,
I approve.
Albert Garcia,
Aye.
Catherine Hollow,
Aye.
Hong Ho,
Aye.
Bruce Lilton,
Aye.
Eduardo Raudalis,
Aye.
Raquel Schatz,
I.
Mike Sutton,
Aye.
John Willett,
Aye.
Shisong Zhu, Marty Zeik.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. The motion.
This is Ruben with Glendale. Aye.
Thank you, Ruben.
Tessa with the City of El Mirage. I.
Thank you, Tessa.
This is David with McDonald. I vote aye.
Thank you, David.
Ward Stanford with the City of Avondale. I vote aye.
Thank you, Ward. With that, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Our next item is a report from MAG TSMO Program Manager Jeff Jenk. However, he's not with us today. So Eric Nava will be filling in. This item is for information and discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the ITS committee. Unfortunately, Jenk, our program manager for the TSMO program, is not feeling well, so we hope speedy recovery for him. I will be covering in his stead for the program manager's report. So the first item I'd like to start with is our federal updates. Also, unfortunately, Mr. Kieran Jordan from Federal Highways Arizona Division could not make it today to today's meeting. So we have two, essentially one update. The USDOT had an announcement on the SMART grant that was worth up to $100 million annually for agencies to apply for. The application was closed on November 18th. There were two submittals that were submitted for this region, and that is being led by the Institute of Automated Mobility, or IAM, in partnership with ADOT, MCDOT, and MAG. One project concerns innovative connected vehicle approach to provide vehicle priority. The other is a safety project, a safety application using LiDAR technology. So keep our fingers crossed on that, and that everything goes well potentially for that. Next item is the current tip call for projects update. As of right now, the tip call for ITS projects has been released as of December 1st. So that is ongoing right now. The total budget for the program this cycle is for FY25 program year of $9.4 million. If you recall, on our ITS tip call for projects or ITS projects is based on our Systems Management Operations Plan, or our SM&O plan. We have 3 of the 4 buckets that we typically go for in these tip calls for projects. Of those 3, we have program funds for 2 of those. So it's bucket 1, or Integrated Corridor Management, ICM, which is $4 million, and bucket 3, which is the Local Priority Corridors, up to $5.4 million. So the applications are due by 10 a.m. on Friday. They can be submitted earlier than that. I would suggest that. Our TSMO staff will be reviewing all those applications as soon as we receive them. but the deadline is 10 a.m. on Friday, January 13th of this coming new year. The applications can be found on our MAG webpage under the TIP program. Under those programs on our TIP webpage. If you have any questions on that, you can email Jeff or myself or Omar. There is an application workshop. So it is a hybrid meeting that will be held here at 1 p.m. December 14th. And that's just to go over the federal requirements, all the federal guidelines, as well as our MAG guidelines. The funding available is CMAQ funds. Here's some key dates for that. So we like to show this graph where this timeline to show all the key events that member agencies, applicants, and evaluators need to be aware of. As I mentioned, December 1st, January 13th is our deadline for submissions. Between that week, the 13th and the 20th, MAG staff will be reviewing the applications just to make sure in terms of any incidentals or errors, things like that, that we can catch at least within the application itself. As a strong reminder, GIS files are required for these applications. We will be receiving those and reviewing them and using them for a lot of our data extraction that goes towards the application data for quantitative and qualitative information. Those applications will be posted on January 20th. So that gives us a week for review, and we will post them onto our MAG webpage for everyone to receive. That is for evaluators as well. So you would want to download them. We will also have the tip or the spreadsheet, the evaluation spreadsheet that will be used for grading or ranking and scoring the projects. On February 1st, which is a committee meeting, will be the application presentations, which is allows all the applicants an opportunity to present their projects and evaluators to ask questions for clarification on the applications. Then we'll have finalizing scores during the month of February. By March, we should be able to see the recommended ranking of projects and follow all the way through April 26th. That's the anticipated date to include all the projects into the TIP as an amendment to the TIP. And as a reminder as well, this is for FY25 program year funding. The next item we have is our ICM planning study. We did provide an update last month in terms of what we are anticipating for our ICM or integrated corridor management planning. We've had this funding available for planning studies, and we're taking this approach, two-phase approach, where phase one will help us better identify feasibility of being able to do ICM projects or planning for those. And that could include as well as signal timings and rerouting, concept of operations type of approach. But we also want to learn from kind of taking a feasibility scan through the region to see what makes the most sense to do this as opposed to self-selecting corridors. So, and that what we learn from phase one will feed into our phase two, which is really the planning and executing of these type of planning projects. We've currently developed our phase one task order, and we're waiting actually for final signatures on that. So that should be ready by the January committee meeting to discuss that. But that project will be a very quick turnaround, and it's just a data scan. And so what goes into that task order here indicates the three major tasks of this scope of work, or this upcoming task order. It's really task one would be a regional assessment. Just taking a look at it from a data perspective, both regional data, as well as some safety data. Kind of look at the region snapshots over time of what the data kind of indicates in terms of hotspots or areas that we want to be aware of from freeway and arterial type of management. But then the task two will go into local agency meetings. It's taking the data to these agencies that we are assessing the needs of that, and being able to talk to them in terms of, at what level of participation do you think makes most sense for your agency relative to what the data is finding, as well as the needs of freeway to arterial management. So we want to be able to take this as a much more feasible approach that makes sense for everybody at play. We'll also be looking at the needs, requirements, different routes, things like that with those local meetings, make sure that this makes the most sense. As opposed to having some template blanket, just cover everything with all ICM projects. We want to make sure that these planning projects make the most sense for all agencies involved. Task 3 will go into the assessment findings and being able to help us enumerate what corridors specifically we're doing, as well as the agency level of participation for these. And then we'll develop, this will help us lead into developing essentially what is the preliminary scopes of work of phase 2, customized to the needs of the agencies for each of the enumerated assessments that we find from this phase 1 study. And so we'll have more on that early next year as we do this quickest phase 1 assessment. The next item is FY23 PSOPs, our traffic signal optimization program. There's not much update from what we gave last in November committee meeting. We do have our first round of projects that we did program earlier this year. All projects are currently underway. With the remaining funding that we did have from first round, we did have a second round of call for projects, and we did receive those projects. They were approved back in October, and we had to wait until the December 15th TRC, which is coming up. So that's currently as it stands. Those projects, once approved from our regional council executive in January, we'll do a quick execution of those projects to finish off our current FY23 year. And that Mr. Chair, that concludes my program managers.
Thank you, Eric. Do any members have questions? We'll move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is a presentation on a MAG emerging technology pilot that examines an automated signal timing generator. This will be presented by Omar with MAG and Dr. Sanjay Paul with HDR. This item is for information and discussion. Before we start the presentation, I'd like to invite Eric to present an overview of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the ITS committee. So this project was recently completed emerging technology project, pilot project that was part of our MAG emerging technology program, which is being managed by our emerging technology program manager, Shu Yao Hong. This particular project pilot intends to innovate or improve on the ability to optimize time of day traffic signal operations by automating the process of generating updated traffic signal timing plans using AI-based devices. The project area is the State Route 347 managed by ADOT, overseeing more than 600 signals scattered across the state. This project examined the merits of this technology for the understaffed agencies. So I'd like to hand this over to Omar from MAG, as well as Dr. Paul from.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the ITS committee. If you can't see me on your screen, don't be alarmed. I'm just wearing white with a white background. So this presentation today is looking at an evaluation of an automated signal timing generator. This pilot project was a part of the MAG Emerging Technologies pilot program. And see if it's going to change. Okay. So first, I want to start by describing to you some of the challenges that we usually face in traffic signal retiming. We typically only collect 1 day of turning movement counts, and really it's only 2 hours per time period that we're looking at optimizing. So whether you're a local agency, state DOT, or local county, a typical retiming projects you'll face kind of that limitation in. And you're trying to make sure that all other factors are as normal as possible when you're collecting the turning movement counts. That is, there's hopefully no crashes, no construction, or any major blocks on the road. So this already puts you at a significant disadvantage, since you don't have a lot of flexibility. And if you wanted to reschedule because of something that happened, then it's going to cost you more effort and time. You will then most likely spend a good deal of time developing the new signal timing plans using signal optimization software such as Synchro, which if you have used before, it can take you quite a bit of time to create the entire model on, optimize the model as well. So after you do that, you're still going to have to, even if you have a consultant do that for you, you're still going to have to review and adjust the timing plans. So that takes you quite a bit of time as well. And once all of that is done, you're still going to manually create all the timing plans and input them in your traffic management system to execute the plan. So if you have a large corridor, this can take quite a bit of time, which I'm sure you as the operators and the TOCs know that you don't have a lot of time. And this just adds another thing onto your plate. So the second thing is really just the flexibility. If you're collecting the 1 day of turning movement counts, you have no frame of reference to know if that's a normal day as well. So it can be quite a limitation there. And you have nothing else to compare to. So as part of the MAG Emerging Technologies pilot, this solution was looking at something that can help with this. So what is this technology? Well, in the MAG region, you have 4 types of signal control. You have some signals that run free, some signals that are traffic responsive and use things like dynamic max green. And most of the signals, about 90% in the MAG region, use time of day coordination. And about 10% are adaptive. So this technology sits right under the time of day coordination in the sense that it is collecting turning movement counts continuously for you. It gives you the tool to an ability to optimize whenever you want, but it still gives you time of day coordination and it's not making any decisions for you automatically. So this technology uses camera and vision on all approaches to set up detection zones and track vehicles and objects. And it's all powered by this main GPU unit that is connected in the traffic signal cabinet. This unit processes and stores the continuous traffic counts and is connected to the signal controller as well, giving you the ability and ADOT in the case of our project to automatically implement the timing plans remotely. This Code Green software that comes with this technology and these devices is like a signal optimization tool, but on steroids. First, you're always getting the continuous turning movement counts imported in it. So you're able to compare, identify when your peak periods are, and notice if there are any changes that happened that you might want to make any adjustments to. And you can also monitor the cameras at the intersection directly from within the same software as well. And on top of that, it has the signal optimization tool built in as well. So you can simply just select the period you're looking to optimize, or even better yet, now that you have continuous turning movement counts, you can average a few days together and to present you with a clear vision of what's happening in the corridor over time. So once you build the model, and in my opinion, building the model in this software is much more intuitive, much easier building it. Once you build the model in the software here, then you can just click the calculate button to provide you with a signal timing plan. And in the case of this project, we were actually evaluating just the signal timing plan generated by the software without doing any manual adjustments to it. So the only adjustments that we did were just revising the speeds based on what's happening in the field, and that's it. No changes to the time space diagrams or anything of that sort. So once you click the calculate button and it gives you the generated plan, then, and this is the really neat feature here, you can just click save and it automatically inputs the timings for you in the controller. So you can sit back, open the camera view and observe your changes in the field. So to summarize, this technology is AI-based cameras that count turning movement counts continuously. has a module to generate the time of day signal timing plans for you, and then a module to execute the signal timing plans. Kind of a one-click TSOP. So this study was looking at evaluating the capability and effectiveness of this code green. Or in other words, it's looking at evaluating the performance of the generated signal timing plans. So solely the performance of the generated timing plans. We did have simultaneously another project with Northern Arizona University that is looking at evaluating the presence detection and count validation of the AI cameras. But this study is just looking at solely the performance of the generated timing plans. This project was deployed at 6 intersections on SR347 that were ran by ADOT. And I want to take a moment to really thank Bruce and the team on ADOT for making this project really easy on us and making sure everything runs correctly. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Sanjay Paul to present us with the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. So as Omar mentioned, we had 6 different traffic signals on SR347 where we deployed the technology, collected the data, and went through all that process, implemented, and did the before-after study. Little bit about city of Maricopa. As we all know that it is a growing city, just like any other cities in the valley. But the unique about these communities, it's more of like a bedroom community. A lot of people live there, but their workplace is not in that city. The city is about like 35 miles south from here. And that SR347 is the main route or we can call it a spine basically, carrying all the commuters to and from the work and the home trips there. And as we can see on the directional split in the morning, it can be as extreme as 20-80 split. And in the evening and the PM peak, it could be 35-65 or 30-70. So we can see it has directionally split significantly. So this was a perfect corridor for us to test the technology and evaluate the capability. But as Omar mentioned, it was really hard for Bruce to cope up with the traffic and everything, all the dynamics going on that corridor. We developed a solid methodology. We wanted to look how the timing developed by the technology enhanced the travel time, speed, overall traffic flow on the corridor, as well as side street, which is the system-wide improvements. And finally, we ran the benefit cost analysis because that's something all of our CIP managers or upper management or leadership in the agencies will ask, we have been doing the traditional TSOP project, then what's the additional benefit or how this technology is doing better than the traditional way. So that's why we wanted to cover all 360-degree and did the benefit cost analysis as well. You can see we use the before and after those two terms. By before condition, we meant the existing time of day plan that was developed 3 or little longer ago. Then the after condition represents the timing developed by the Code Green software and that was implemented on the corridor. In terms of the travel time enhancement, we collected and analyzed so many data from different sources. We just tried to leverage on all the existing data and also identified the data that is needed to get a full feeling about the technology. The first one is floating car method. So we had our audio device in our vehicle when we were doing the travel time, and every time we are hitting a stop bar at intersection, we are stating the intersection's name. Later on the desktop environment, we extracted the data and got the travel time between the intersections as well as on the entire corridor for both northbound and southbound direction. Then the third-party data is the index data that we used. And as we know that ADOT has subscription, so we got account and extracted the data for those time period and analyzed those. Then the Wi-Fi detection or in-time data. In-time is a system developed by the same vendor, Rhythm Engineering, and it just detects the MAC ID of the smartphones or even the Wi-Fi system we have built in our vehicles. once the device passes through the detection zone. And we had couple of devices, basically one like at both of the ends of the corridor. Then the transync software, we also use that. And transync software, as you all know, that it comes with lat long and timestamp, and it shows the signal timing, phasing, and our relative location from the intersections, our stops, speed, all sorts of information from the transync software. So we extracted and reviewed that as well. Then also we used the Synchro software just to evaluate the system-wide performance. We had the before time window TMC count at all those traffic signals, and we had the existing time of day plan. So we incorporated all these and extracted the measure of effectiveness. Then later for the after condition, again, we had the 24/7 TMC data. We extracted the data only for the period that we did our after time run for the TMCs, and we had the code green generated signal timing. We input that in the Synchro. Then we extracted the effective measure of effectiveness out of Synchro. As Omar mentioned, and I also mentioned before, that the system has the capability to collect 24/continuous traffic data. So we had the privilege of looking into the data and see what was the traffic volume variance between our before and after condition. And on the bottom table, you can see the Lakeview Drive intersection is the northmost intersection on the corridor, whereas the Hathaway Avenue is the southmost. And we can see it has like 24 or 22% reduced volume, but in the middle sections they had less than that. But overall, we saw that in the corridor, on the corridor, we had approximately 11% less volume in the after time window compared to the before condition. Now, looking at the floating car travel time comparisons, now we can see all those graphs. The red one shows the after condition, but the blue one shows the before condition. Other than AM peak northbound, all other scenarios, we had positive impact. That means we had reduced travel time on the corridor. Again, as we mentioned before, the corridor has really significant directional split, and in the morning period, all the folks from the community are coming to Phoenix area for their commute, for their job, basically. So we had heavy volume on the AM peak northbound, and the timing plan didn't enhance the flow for the northbound AM peak, but for rest of the scenarios, it was enhancing the traffic flow there. And overall, we saw 23% travel time reduction based on our floating car travel time data. Then when we looked at the index travel time data, we can see the similar pattern. Northbound AM peak did not improve, but rest of the scenarios, we got improvement with the code green travel signal timing. Again, speed, similar. Trend, well, for speed, actually, it increased speed for the entire corridor. But one thing to note here, even though we saw the travel time increased, but the speed also increased, which doesn't make sense, right? But the way index collects the data, the TMC, the segments is little different. And since it was not exactly aligning with the start and end of our travel time, the speed was actually that ends actually at one of the intersections there. So all the approaching delay was not accounted there. Again, similar pattern for the Wi-Fi detection. We found overall 21% reduction in travel time with the system generated at signal timing compared to the previous or pre-existed time of day plans. So once we did all those analysis, we did the transync travel time run through, and this is just a snapshot of the before condition and PM peak. And we can see both northbound and southbound, we have significant stops there. And in fact, when Omar and us, we all are driving on the corridor, we realized that the corridor needs some kind of attention. So with the code green generated travel time, again with the transing developed travel time, similar pattern we noticed in the MPIC northbound. Other than that, rest of the scenarios had lower travel time compared to the previous before time window, and overall the travel time reduction was 22%. The wait time is mainly the controlled wait time. Again, we saw similar pattern. The wait time also reduced across on the corridor actually, and overall it was on average 44% reduction in wait time. Speed enhancement was there on the corridor on average 39% enhancement. Then number of stops, those are the stops at the intersections. Again, for the northbound AM peak, we'll look at what's going on in this scenario on the next slide. But rest of the scenarios, we got less number of stops, means we observed smoother traffic flow on the corridor with the timing plans generated by the technology when we compared that with the pre-existing time of the plan. And here is the after condition AM peak, and the third intersection from the top, that's Smith Inke. That was the intersection we identified. Even though this technology developed new signal timing, but I think that's the ideal condition or ideal intersection to have a natural break there, because all the developments are along both sides of SR 347. And among all those intersections, Smith-Inke had a lot of side traffic there. But again, one thing to note is that, as Omar mentioned, we tweaked only the speed because the posted speed limit was not followed by all the drivers. So when we observed the speed, we tweaked that into the system, then did the new timing plan we implemented. We did before and after study. But when we saw this one, Reggie from Rhythm Engineering, Bruce from ADOT, and us, we all looked at this and we saw, let's see what else we can do there. So manually, we did some tweaking there, and later we found significant improvement there. We can see another 10% or 18% enhancement was there after that manual tweak on that north portion of the corridor only, just a couple of intersections. But again, that also teaches us something, that the system is not truly turnkey. You still need a PER, traffic operations engineer, right? It's a substitute of Synchro. It helps, eliminating a lot of stuff that Omar mentioned before. It has all those advantages, but you still need a traffic operations engineer just to make sure everything is working, or whatever tweaking you need to make there to make it smoother or improve the corridor. Again, for the PM, we did not do any tweaking there. And look at the time space diagram. I mean, what else we can expect, right? So overall, we were happy with the outcome we found from the technology. Again, Synchro, as I mentioned before, we input all the TMC data and signal timing into Synchro, and we did that before after comparison there, and we saw travel time reduction, number of vehicles in dilemma zone reduction. And one thing to note on that is, that has the good side effect because that enhances safety, correct? Then obviously the fuel consumption and emission, those are directly related to travel time and speed or number of stops there. Now the fun part. So for benefit cost analysis, in this bullet point, we documented all of our assumptions, and as we all know that it includes the truck percentages, travel time, unit cost for regular person, the people who are driving the truck, vehicle occupancy, fuel cost, life cycle, and inflation rate and everything. One thing to notice here, the project life cycle, we assume that as 10 years, just to be consistent with the HSIP applications we have been developing. And for the inflation, we use that 8% annual interest rate. So again, the benefit was reducing travel time, reducing the fuel consumption and emissions and all those. And for a typical weekday, we estimated it's about $2,000 benefit there. Then out of 365 days in a year, we excluded some of the holidays and also all the weekends, and we just assumed 250 days is like effective weekday. And our analysis showed a little more than $500,000 annual benefit out of this timing plan. In terms of the cost components, we included the agency project management time, the contractor fee, the vendor's fee. I mean, the fee we need to purchase or procure the technology and, their fee and all those. Then also, as we saw that we need another engineer looking at the signal timing data, feeling comfortable, implementing those, observing, and maybe a little bit tweaking here and there. So we incorporated a fee for consulting service too. And once we applied that again, remember that is for 10 years. Then when we applied that, interest rate 8% and capital recovery factor, we saw the annual cost came down around 43 grand a year. And when we did that math, we saw the benefit cost ratio is 11.8 to 1. So approximately 12 to 1, which is pretty good. Eric and Omar can speak better than I do, but we are happy with the BC ratio there. But again, as we saw the overall volume, we had 11% less volume. But if we look at the travel time reduction, depending on the which data source we are referring, but we had in the range of 10 to 23% travel time reduction. And the overall traffic flow was smoother on the corridor. Even we noticed after the analysis was done and everything, just for fun, we went on the corridor and drove there. We saw that improvement on the corridor. Challenges. Again, just like any other projects, we had some challenges. We had multiple agencies involved, contractors, even police department. We had to include them because of the lane closures and all those. And again, Maricopa, City of Maricopa is a small community. They had less staff, and we had to coordinate with everyone, making sure that everyone is available and showing up in the field when we do the work, especially the installation work there. Then also we need to get the encroachment permit from ADOT. Again, that was part of the project. The camera required training and calibration of that algorithm. We had around 45 days of training there. But after we talked with the vendor, they mentioned the training time is now less than 45 days. Then another portion challenged us quite a bit was the construction of roadway works on SR 347. They had projects from the city, they had ADOT projects, and we need to make sure we had that pure 1 month window where there is no closure, no working on the corridor, but just a regular typical scenario. As Omar mentioned, we need that typical scenario to do that before and after study to compare apple to apple, and also just to see what will be there on a typical day without any construction and everything. But Eduardo from City of Maricopa, Bruce, they both did a great job informing us with all those, stuff or events going on the corridor. And Meg and HDR Rick engineering team, we worked really closely and made sure that we are collaborating, coordinating, and using our time efficiently and wisely there. So once we coordinated everything, we are all ready to go. We had everything set up. And on the evening, it was really high wind there. And they had radio communications there, and we lost the communication basically. And Bruce let us know that, hey guys, don't go to the field because we lost the comm. Then, we put our thoughts together, we developed a list of potential agencies who will talk to borrow some radios, because there will be a shipping delay and all those if you want to get new. But anyways, Bruce, arranged all those with his folks and got the communication up there. Then later we did our benefit cost analysis, or all the whole evaluation and benefit cost analysis, everything. Another challenge is there. Our preference is to complete the before after study in 3 weeks. Obviously a week will be the pre-existing time of day plan. Then next week we'll extract the TMC from the system, review or generate the signal timing. Again, using that cloud-based system, review that, feel comfortable, implement that in the field, and let the public drive there, get used to. Then we do our after time, travel time run and data collection, correct? But as Eric mentioned, actually, Bruce in the statewide, he has approximately 600 traffic signals, and he was the one person there. to take care of all those 600 traffic signals. So that was a little bit hard job for him, but he did a great job. He, really paid attention and helped us and made sure that we had all these deadlines and schedule met, and we made the project really success. And again, those challenges make our life colorful. That's why you can see that colorful there. And once you have a solid team, you can do anything basically. So we did overcome all those challenges, and as Omar mentioned, we had a great successful project there. The agency feedback, you can see here the agencies. Here by the agency we meant mainly ADOT, and we wanted to get their brutally honest feedback, how we did as a consultant, how the technology vendor did, and overall how the technology would help ADOT or the adopting agency basically in their day-to-day life. So on overall, we got really positive feedback there. With that, I would like to hand it over to Omar. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. And I'd just like to elaborate on one point from the driving experience as well. Is this is something you can't really put in a benefit cost analysis, but from the driving experience and seeing the stop duration, feeling the stop duration actually decreasing a lot, it's a lot easier, and driver frustration is a lot less as well. But yeah, with that, I'll happy to take any questions for Sanjay and I.
Were you and your team able to identify any root causes to why the morning northbound traffic was adversely affected, whereas everything else was a positive effect?
That's a great question, Sergeant Hunt. Yes, as you saw, we have a significantly high unusual directional split. The traffic volume was saturated condition. It was close to capacity. And the technology can do so much once we have that capacity constant there. So that was the reason why the technology was not able to, enhance that. But again, as we presented in one of the slides, that after we did that manual tweaking, it enhanced that or it overcome that scenario for AM peak northbound direction.
Did your team consider adjusting the speed limit up or down to help streamline the process? Would that get us better results by increasing or decreasing speed limit there? And if so, did you guys consult with Maricopa, City Maricopa, to get that knocked out?
If I understand correctly, you are referring to the posted speed limit, right? Not the speed into the model, right? Okay. Well, we didn't. That's a good point. They have, I think, two different speed limits based on the situation or which area you are on the corridor. We didn't do a true speed study there, but maybe that's something the city can take a look at that. Maybe Eric Omar or Edward, I know he's online. They can.
Yeah, we have two speed limits there. First it does 45, and then it transitions to 35.
Dr. Zhu, you have your hands up.
Yes, Omar, I have two questions here. One is, I think I submit a document from ASU. Our student took other data sources, for example, Google traffic image. We think one of the downstream bottlenecks might create all these over congested conditions. So if you're interested, I can forward that report to you. This is my first comment. So, my second comment is any way for us to apply this corridor study to other corridors in our region easily, and any license, and for us to repeat this great exercise?
Thank you, Dr. Zhu. Yeah, in regards to your first comment, I do appreciate you sending that document to us, and I recall you sent it to us in the past, and it matched what we were seeing in our report as well. So that was another way of confirming what we're seeing due to oversaturation at the north end specifically. So thank you for sending that. In regards of your second question, this study was developed to be very holistic in nature and being able to replicate it in other corridors. So I think the methodology of it is very easy to use, and I'll leave it to Sanjay if he wants to add anything.
I agree, Omar. Yeah, definitely. Anybody can use this methodology. And as Omar mentioned, we followed a holistic approach. We tried to make sure we are leveraging all the existing data, then identified what else we can collect to have, the 360-degree covered basically.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for providing all this streamlined analysis. Thank you.
One more thing I wanted to point out, Omar won Best ITS Implementation Project Award from this project.
That's an effort of Sanjay and everyone on the project team as well. So I'm really happy for everyone on the project team, and thank you. We have another question from Mr. Sutton.
Yes. I guess there's two, but they should be pretty short. Is the agency continuing to update their timing, or is there even a need to? Or how often are they seeing, oh, hey, we need to make a change, or we don't, if it's still out there anyways?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Yeah, in terms of this project specifically, we actually had a transition of ownership after the project was done. So that question would be maybe directed to Mr. Raudalis. Maybe he can help us answer that. But from the feedback hearing back from ADOT, it was really helpful to have the ability to optimize whenever patterns change.
Yeah, and I do think that it's wonderful. And I know this was a pilot project and there were certain goals, to try to reach with this pilot. It was, will this work? Won't it? Will it make an improvement? And I know that initially, you identified a couple of issues, with the timing, but just like your feeling, if you would have driven this like initially with TransSync, which is not part of the project, which you did, and just said, hey, we need to tweak this, need to tweak that before you even ran this, do you think you would have seen similar results?
Like, that's a great question. That would be my speculation, but I don't know. I mean, since we didn't do that, our scope or what we did was just the before condition, which is the pre-existing time of day plan compared to the code green generated timing plan. But I think that would be another interesting study just to see what the system can do further compared to the synchro, or maybe as you mentioned, more like recent signal timing compared to the technology generated signal timing. We didn't do that.
Okay. And I know there is another project that's not the same, but somewhat, I guess, in the same ballpark that I think Queen Creek is working on that might be interesting, because it's not more looking at a north-south, but it's looking at a lot of cross coordination and stuff. And so this is interesting, and I appreciate you guys doing this pilot project.
Hi,
Chair?
it's Kathy. I have a quick question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Thanks. Sorry. So this, I think I'm building on the last comment, but this was a corridor, right? So how much did you look at what was happening on the cross streets? Because most of us don't have the luxury of having just a single corridor in our valley grid system. So that we focus on, right? We have to look at all different directions. So was that this project was pretty much the corridor without a lot of attention to the side streets, or what exactly did you do with the side streets?
That's a great question, Kathy. Maybe I need to go back if I have that. So I am reversing the slides and going to the slide. It shows the corridor. One more maybe. So while the slides are being loaded, SR 347 is the main corridor, to go or to and from for the city. I mean, as I said before, that's the spine. And if you look at, for example, the North Cobblestone intersection, the side street is just, collecting all the commuter there and feeding to this main spine. Only the
Right.
street is extending a little bit longer. So again, this is not a typical grid system that we have in the valley. Rather, this, as I said, this is just the main, and all the side streets are just feeding the traffic onto the main street. With the side street specific, we did the system-wide evaluation, which was using the synchro before and after data, and we saw the improvement there in terms of system-wide travel time, number of stops, dilemmas on vehicles, fuel consumption, emissions on all those. So other than the synchro analysis, we didn't do any other weight estimates or anything from for the side streets.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair and Sanjay, I guess this kind of leads to some of the other, or leading on, or coming from some of the other questions, but I think that's kind of the beauty of this as being a pilot, right, from the Emerging Technologies Program, is that we can, if there is added interest and, lean to what Kathy from Tempe is mentioning, is we can apply this to maybe a different kind of corridor that, and the system, I'm assuming, is supposed to take that input from the side streets and in terms of a balancing. Is there from the system software, is there a way in terms of weighting those potential, in terms of balancing side streets versus mainline, or is that just allowing the system to learn as best as it can?
I don't know. I didn't spend enough time to educate myself about the software. Yeah, maybe that's something we can follow up with the vendor and get back to you.
And kind of leaning towards a little bit as well about the idea of how much time does it need to assume, because you said you had less volume, 10, 11%
11%
reduction in volume. Where did you get that number? Like, is that currently being evaluated by NAU, right, in terms of traffic counts, things like that?
Yeah, the system collects 24/7 TMC data, and we extracted all the traffic data for the before time window and after time window out of the system, then compared, and we saw we had 11% less volume on the corridor.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I think, even if you had, leaning towards what Mr. Sutton was mentioning, is if you had this project out there for 90 days, how often are the timing plans actually changing over time if it's learning, right? If it took 30, 40 days, 45 days to learn, and something's changing over those 90 days, I wonder if the system also has a record keeping of, well, day 47, we had to change the timing plan and on a rolling horizon. Because I think what's great about TransSync and all these other methods, right, that we've traditionally done, we set it out there and we leave it out there for a few years. Maybe you can manage it or maintain it, right, using TransSync to kind of fine tune some of those things. I wonder if the system is capable of logging how many times it's changed or the reasons behind it, data, volume, input, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so one thing to note there is this is not an adaptive system. Rather, it generates the signal timing, and once we review it, feel comfortable, we need to push a button to implement in the field. And once we do that, the event is registered into the system. Okay, on that day we did this, but it doesn't automatically do it for us basically. But we have the privilege of reviewing the traffic volume, and I wish the system can tell us that, hey, the volume is significantly different now, either less or high, to have a new timing implemented on the corridor. But I don't know if the system is there yet. We didn't look into the capability there.
That'd be an interesting,
yeah,
give us a clue that something needs to potentially change.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to clarify on that question, the learning process as well is just in the learning period for the cameras to know how to count vehicles and do the presence detection. But after that, you're just selecting whatever time period you're doing, and it provides you with accounts for that time period. So it's not adaptively like Sanjay mentioned, doing any decisions for you, but just collecting the data. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar and Sanjay. Our next agenda item is a request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by a committee member for an item on a future agenda? Okay, hearing none, I will move on to item number 7. Beginning with Ruben Lopez, I would like to invite members to share information related to ongoing ITS related project activities in their jurisdictions. So Ruben, do you have any updates for Glendale?
Yeah, just a brief update. Thanks, Steve. Late last week, we completed an installation of a new adaptive system around the Westgate area using Intellect controllers and the Q-Free adaptive systems at 15 locations along Glendale Avenue, 91st Avenue, down to Camelback, and using 6 traffic signals in between those corridors within the Westgate area. And that's it for now.
Okay, thank you. Susan Anderson.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I don't have a whole lot of updates. I think most of you are aware that the Loop 101 mobility project is underway. McDOT and ADOT have been coordinating on the next steps for the project. So I know we'll have some more information coming out soon to all of the partners and stakeholders. Within ADOT, I do know that my group particularly is working with a consultant right now to develop an ITS master plan. That is to serve essentially ADOT TSMO division and our ITS needs that we manage. That is starting to get to the recommendations and finalization stage. So I'm hoping in the next couple months we'll have that ready to produce and share with everyone, but that's going along really well. Other than that, I don't have any other updates. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks.
Thanks, Susan. Paul Robbins.
No updates for Goodyear.
Micah Henry.
No updates from Mesa.
Okay. Alyssa Dahl.
No updates from Chandler.
Albert Garcia. Kathy Hollow.
No updates at this time, thanks.
Sergeant Hunt.
Nothing for DPS.
Hong Ho.
No updates from Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce Littleton.
No updates for Phoenix.
Okay. David Lucas.
No updates for McDonough. Thank you.
Okay, I'm next. No updates from Peoria right now. Eduardo Salas.
Nothing from Maricopa.
Raquel Schatz.
No updates from Apache Junction.
Ward Stanford.
No updates for Avondale.
Okay, Mike Sutton.
No updates to report at this time.
Tessa Wessel.
Nothing from El Mirage.
John Willett.
Nothing much from Buckeye. Everyone have a good holiday.
Professor Zhou.
Hello.
Hi. Any updates from ASU?
At the ASU, we have a final semester here, and but we are working with very closely with ADOT, with the MAG. One is for the signal timing inventory for ADOT. Second one is we have this virtual DMS project with MAG team. So we are working closely, try to close out the final report. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Marty Syke.
Nothing this month from Valley Metro. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, with that, our next meeting of the ITS committee will be on, I'm not sure, it's going to be January 4th. January. Okay, January 4th next year at 10 a.m. Here in the Meg Ironwood room. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good one,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.